Welcome to the broadcast, my dear old fruit. It's lovely to see you. Please join me in my salon as we discuss the delicious news that Meghan has been hailed Duchess of Disaster for this recent calamity. And we saw it coming, didn't we, a mile off. All disastrous. An absolute calamity behind the scenes, and so very satisfying. So satisfying we're going to be looking at her rebrand that's been forced upon her as ever. And here and now I am officially declaring it to be known as Was Never. I think that's a lot more apt, don't you, than As Ever Meghan. Add a W and an N to that, my dear. Was never. Was never. We are going to discuss that. We are going to discuss royal matters. And then we are going to have a little bit of chit-chat, speak about furnishings, and a keepsake kaleidoscope. So that's on the menu today. The timestamps will be in the description for you, for your delectation. Ignore the fire, the fake fire that doesn't crackle, and ignore all the embellishments around you. They're just plonked on there for fun, my dear. None of them are staying. None of them are staying. Everything's going to be changing. So don't worry about that. But we'll discuss that later on. We will start with the Duchess of Sussex. Oh, we saw it coming. Some of you may have heard whispers about what I'm creating. In 2 weeks, my series on Netflix launches. She thinks she's Helen of Troy, doesn't she, my dear? Launching herself into the canon as an icon of beauty. But there's something else I've been working on. So conspiratorial, isn't she? Come on, girls, I've got something to tell you. I'm thrilled to introduce you to As Ever. Was Never. A brand that I created and poured my heart into. What heart? That's what I'd like to know. As Ever means as it's always been, or some even say in the same way as always. What is she talking about? What is this word sound? We all know what as ever means. Do we really need instruction? Why does she feel the need to give us instruction, some sort of education on this? Well, if you followed along since my days of creating, she says, since my days of creating the TIG, you'll know this couldn't be truer for me. Oh, we've all followed and sniffed you out. This new chapter is an extension of what has always been my love language, beautifully weaving together everything I cherish. Food, gardening, entertaining, thoughtful living, and finding joy in every day. The only thing that girl weaves together is mischief. She is the Rumpelstiltskin of mischief. She is not weaving straw into gold. She is weaving gold into shit. And she creates mischief wherever she goes. We've all seen it, my dears. I will keep sharing behind the scenes tidbits with you here as we ramp up to the launch. And I can't wait for you to get your hands on everything we've been creating. You mean you can't wait to get your mucky paws all over the filthy lucre, can you, my dear? Sending lots of love. Was never. Meghan. No, you never were you? You were Rachel Ragland.
Cat's out of the bag. I'm shocked we've kept this a secret for so long.
The cat's out of the bag, she tells us on one of her joy-filled Instagram posts. And she's so casual, she's skipping around, plucking out daisies as if she's 4 years old. Add a 0 to that, and a few other numbers, my dear. She makes it very clear to us, by the way, in this clip, that her husband, my husband and I, are a team.
It's recording.
Okay.
Her husband is recording the little segment, and she has to pop that in because it gives her more royal credential, doesn't it, my dear? She has to remind everybody, I am the wife of a prince, so don't you forget it. In fact, he's my husband. The husband of a princess should be queen, no matter what titles they strip from me. I remain a princess. She says there's been a lot of curiosity about my business, with a little coy, mischievous laugh.
My business, which I think there's been a lot of curiosity about.
And then she discusses the fact that Netflix have come on board with her, not just as a partner in my show, but
as my partner in my business, which was huge. So I thought about it,
This is huge. Yeah, a huge mistake for so many people involved with you. And so they've had to iron out all of the hell that you and your company have put them through over the last year and your charades behind the scenes. They've had to iron all of this out for you. It says American Riviera Orchard. The name American Riviera Orchard limited her to products within the Santa Barb's community, you see, after which it was named, Old Santa Barb's. So she didn't want to be limited by all of this and just the products from the locale and the local jam and the preserves. So she secured the name for as ever. She loves to tell us, back in 2022, yeah, I secured the name. I'm the Duchess of Sussex. I can secure whatever I want. A husband, a prince, and jam.
To share a name that I had secured in 2022, and this is the moment, and it's called As Ever.
She's always loved cooking, she tells us, and crafting. Oh, she crafts, all right. We know what sort of craft a witch undertakes, don't we? Gardening. Oh, Charlie Dimmock, watch your hammocks. We've got another one coming through. Well, actually, I will give her, as much as I poke a little fun here and there, I will give her the fact that she has always displayed those things to the world before royalty came into her life, or she inserted herself into it. Yes, she was always waffling on about these things because they were commercial ventures for her, weren't they, my dears? Opportunities for the old sponsorships and all of this. All of this, yeah. She hasn't been able to share in the past few years, she tells us, oh so slyly. Hint, 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 because of the royals, because I was chained and enslaved and silenced by the royal family.
This is what I do, and I haven't been able to share it with you in the same way for the past few years, but now I can.
Why haven't you been able to share it in the past few years, Meghan? You and Harry jumped ship years ago. Years ago. You've had several years to tell us about all your likes. You could have had Instagram running a long time ago. But, of course, the weight had nothing to do with being silenced. It had to do with the fact that you wanted to make sure you could get as much longer as possible for all of your endorsements and everything that you wanted to share with love for your friends and your family all over the globe. The commoners, the peasants and the paupers, well, they've got to cough up. They've got to cough up if they want what you're brewing. You see, my dears, within the royal family, and when you are performing public duty and royal service, as is your privilege and your responsibility and your undertaking, you cannot commercialise. As a senior royal, you cannot commercialise your way through proceedings or hustle. For one reason, there's no need to. You're perfectly well provided for and adequately looked after. But this drove you mad. This drove you mad, didn't it, Meghan? And this was part of the quiz, and it was part of your big problem coming into the family. You wanted to acquire the billions and the gazillions of a Bezos or a Musk. You were totally unwilling to sacrifice that vulgarity, weren't you? So much so that you and your hubby parade yourself overseas, parade your wares and your dirty linen and merchandise it all and make a big mockery of everything with sterling values as you go along. And that's why your name is Mud. And that is why you are officially rebranding the product now, again, with the addition of a W and an N. Was, never, was, never, was, never. Your new little vignettes feature the daughter, Princess, using the king's granddaughter. The king's seldom seen granddaughter, meaning he's seldom clapped his eyes on her. I don't need to clap my eyes on her. I believe in her, and I am happy to know that she exists, and you're very happy, and I wish you all nothing but the best. But the king has not clapped eyes on his granddaughter, has he? But once, or over Zoom, or whenever it is, he needs to dial it in. The king we're talking about, not just a man or a grandpapa. The pa. Oh, we'll pass on grandpa. We'll pass on Pa Charlie. I don't think so. I don't think we'll let him in. Harry even more to blame. Even more to blame, so don't think that he's getting off the hook here at all. No, she was just the catalyst. Galvanises his fury and his inner rages and his problems of the mind. Every compassion and sympathy for those who suffer with problems of the mind and disorders and mental unrest, every sympathy. But you know who I've got even more sympathy for? Those of us who have to suffer because of them, and the hells that they put us through because of their travails. Yes, I have more compassion for them. We see them gambling through the meadows and the lush green grasses of the castle of the Riven Rock, the chateau, rather, of the Ridden Cock, whatever you want to call it. They're gambling through the fields, painting a little picture, a little story time with the king's granddaughter, which I don't appreciate, actually, because using her for commercial purposes, dragging her into this, and she's too young to truly understand, because she knows it's going to put bums on seats, a few bums on seats. Always has to drag Harry in, always has to drag the children in. Why can't she just do it on her own? Probably because she knows that nobody cares, and she's being directed to do so by the Ari Emanuels of this world and the Netflix bosses. Remember the Royal Association. Get all of that in there, because no one gives a shit about you. On your own as you are. They want the Royal Association. They want drama. Drama, and she gives it to us. So I'm happy to return the favour. Ha! Do you understand? Spit in the sky and it falls in your eye. You understand that? Yes. Using the king's granddaughter to publicise her wares. It is incredibly vulgar. And to do her Martha Stewart impersonation or her attempt at a Gwyneth Paltrow, I don't think so, my dear. The trademark application for American Riviera Orchard, of course, was rejected, and they were given a further 3 months to revise their application, as far as I'm aware. This was all scrapped. It didn't come to fruition. And actually, it was a horrid idea. American Riviera Orchard. It's too much of a mouthful. Even I, who's spouting it off to you all of the time, have to sort of scramble my limited brain, admittedly, to remember it every time I deliver it to you. American Riviera Orchard. American Riviera Orchard. Sophistry. Would have been quite nice, actually, to just be American Orchard or Riviera Orchard, one of the two. But the 3 words don't work in this case, I'm afraid. It was always an awful idea. Everything she rustles up is an awful, dreadful idea that gets dropped. Every project that she's involved with, dropped. And it's remarkable that this one has come so far, hasn't it? But of course, now they're associating it with Harry and with Lilibet and with royalty to try and get some more drama and attention out there. And mark my words, this is what you will see over the next couple of weeks before Netflix release all their merchandising. Before Was Never comes to the stage. Oh, you watch it. There'll be so many oodles of mischief forthcoming over the next couple of weeks. Yes. Actually, and shall I just give you a bit of insight into actually what she should do? Not that I would want her to do it, but if she was being really canny, and if she wanted to troll the world, what she should call the brand is American Princess. Yes, my dear. Anything with princess in the title, that would have been absolute genius. But not everybody has my mind, you see, switched on here. Ari Emanuel, did you think of that? Knock, knock. Anybody in there, my dear? I know that you are a marketing genius, but this is too marketing genius. You call the brand Princess, or you call the brand American Princess. Perfect. That would troll everybody. It would take the world by storm. It would thrill her fans. It would appall her haters. But it would give them so much attention. And actually, I rather like the name anyway. So Princess Products. The Princess of Products. And I was appalled to see that the logo is a palm tree with 2 hummingbirds. And I was appalled because the hummingbird is one of my spirit animals, my dear, as I've mentioned a few times. I don't really like seeing it used in this way. Now, of course, cast your mind back to almost a year ago, wasn't it? When there was a rush release of the information for American Riviera Orchard last year. The press got wind of it. Do you remember that? That was one of the reasons it came out. Was it Dan Wooten? I can't remember. Some journalists got wind of the name and the announcements, not the announcement, the name and the branding. That was one reason she rush released it. But the other huge reason was the fact that everybody was chit-chatting about the so-called vanishing of Catherine. The vanishing was a big reason that the team wanted to capitalise on Kate's mystery. The mystery of Kate. Where is the missing Kate? Hello. As ever, it's Meghan. The timing will make sense, doesn't it? But actually, it was, of course, a total PR disaster for the long run, because it never evolved into anything. The name wasn't secure, the brand wasn't secure. It was her impatience and her petulance, and it illustrates her lack of cool temperament. Do you see that, my dear? That undercurrent of the histrionic that runs through those veins. It runs and pulsates through those veins. Throb, throb, throb. One can almost see it happening. And I'm afraid that is the fly in her ointment. And it makes life hell for everybody around her. Netflix actually made a condition. They made a condition that they want in on the action. So she's painting it and seizing control of the narrative that, oh, I've got this huge business of Netflix that want to partner with me, not just on the show, but in my business. No, my dear, they made a condition. They made a condition, didn't they, my dear? Let's not dress it up as a compliment. They have basically said that you're using our platform to sell as the merchantess of Venice Beach, and we want our dues. If you're going to use our platform, we want our dues. That's what Netflix are saying to you. They want their Judas coins, and you better pay up. You better pay up, my dear, because the polo extravaganza with your hubby didn't sell, and all the other worthy project. Pearl fell flat on its face and clammed up, didn't it? Clammed up like a nun's bits on a frosty day. An Avon lady, if you think about it, an Avon lady doesn't sell her wares and her varnishes without paying commission to Avon. Do you understand? Avon take the cut. Netflix want the cut of their pound of flesh. Scentsy candles. All those Scentsy sellers out there, my dear. You know, it goes all the way up the chain, doesn't it? So that Scentsy take their commission and their cut. Of course it does. It's virtually, you know, what do they call it? Their various initials for these things. A pyramid scheme is another name. It's a pyramid scheme in drag. This whole sophistry, as ever, was, never, is a scheme, a pyramid scheme. And I'm afraid, Meghan, you're at the bottom of the triangle. You are certainly not up there with the pharaohs. And actually, it slips out when she mentions how she wants to share the products, because it explains all we need to know. She's telling you, she's making it clear. It is not about the content or about the love. It's about the product. She says it herself. It's about the product. So don't pee on her legs and tell us it's raining, my dear. Don't cop a squat. You are doing your Evita, aren't you? You're doing your parody. I'm their product. It's vital you sell me, so Machiavelli, make a Montecito rose. Well, actually, there is one little problem. One teensy-eensy little problem that's been noted, as ever, has not yet successfully been trademarked. In fact, the application is earmarked as accepted, but not yet assigned to an examiner. That's all up in the air. That doesn't sound very professional to me, does it? Well, with love, Meghan launches on March the 4th, as I say, and I will, in all seriousness, share a little whisper with you now that I only heard since this announcement was made, when I got on the blower to a couple of contacts. My exclusive whisper is that actually, as ever, is a choice they've ended up with. It's not the best name in the world, and that is because, as well as American Riviera Orchard being dismissed and various other names, actually, her first choice for the entire brand, I am told, and for legal reasons I will say my whispers could be inaccurate, but what I'm told and what I believe it is actually her first choice was to call everything With Love Meghan. This has been the recent preference, not the first choice I should say, I'll clarify, but the recent preference. But she wasn't able to secure that, because then it would have gone in tandem with the series, you see. And it's a lot better, isn't it? With Love, Meghan, I mean, it's still not my favourite. I would prefer, if it were me, trolling American Princess, or even Meghan. Duchess Meghan. But it has a better ring to it than As Ever, doesn't it? As Ever does not work. I'm sorry, my dear, but you need a real catch to that hook. As Ever is too many vowels to be truly catchy. Rather in the vein of Sex and the City's recent instalment of, see, what's it called? I can't even remember now, the new series, the new retelling. And just like that, and just like that. It starts with an and, do you understand? A vowel word that is just an and just like that. I mean, who wants to call a series and just like that? Awful. They should have called it Sex and the City. You know, what a fabulous title. Sex and the City. What a shit title. And just like that. I can't recall it. Well, it's the same sort of thing with As Ever Meghan. Awful, awful, awful. She wanted to call it With Love Meghan. She couldn't. And that is why they don't even match up. The two don't even match up. What a mess. Also, she paraded around a smooch fest on Instagram, which was absolutely sickening. Smoochy, smoochy, snogging her fuzzball. And, it was all done in moody black and white to try and make them look better. Back home taking care of our babies and missing my Valentine. Beyond proud of my husband and what he's created. Oh, shut up, my love. I will always eat burgers and fries and fish and chips with you forever. Thank you for your... thank you for you. Thank you for you. Hashtag love wins. Oh, so you are admitting that you are in battle, are you? Real love doesn't need to show it. Meghan, dear. It doesn't need to be displayed and paraded and illustrated and proved and shown to the world. No, it doesn't. If you want inspiration, look at Lilibet's namesake. Queen Elizabeth II and the Duke. Look at them for inspiration. Did they go around snogging each other all day long, having a crafty little feel, making sweet nothings and whisperings at any age, let alone the mid-40s? No, they did not. Nothing wrong with a little canoodling in the park. You see old grandpa and grandma out there, you know, holding hands, whispering sweet nothings, but not on the world stage, not on social media platforms showing everybody about your pride. No one cares. No one. It seems desperate. It comes over as desperate, actually, to seize the narrative, control the story, narrate the story. And story it is. Story it is, isn't it, my dear? You're so obsessed with the story of your life. That's because it's all fiction. Now let's take a moment to see what the royal family have been up to in a royal romper. Beginning with Catherine, Princess of Wales, who has been publishing images from Kensington Palace to highlight the exhibition that was launched by Catherine at the National Portrait Gallery, where she was encouraging children to think about their relationships and feelings. And she threw up some interesting portraits there by some very talented children, didn't she? And one by her, and I believe this is the order they go in, this one being painted. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but this is what I believe to be the correct order. This one by Prince Louis in red, a vibrant red there. I think most people are assuming that this is a portrait of Catherine. Originally I heard people say Charlotte, but I think the children have all painted their mother, and she has painted one of their children. But who can say? I mean, to be honest with you, it could be cousin Lilibet, couldn't it? It could quite easily be cousin Lilibet with that flash of ginger to the forehead. But others have said that it's Louis's version of Catherine. He's added some bangs, or possibly, because they're a different colour, maybe some wrinkles, who knows? And apparently this splodge here is not a bogey. It's not a buggy-wuggy. It is apparently a nod to one of her beauty marks or spots. I don't know. I'm going to give up guessing. But that was very interesting, full of fire. This one by Princess Charlotte apparently is a beautifully realised study. Really beautifully realised. I love it. There's some good lines, some abstract impressionism, and unfortunate nostrils. They're the one bit that I wasn't particularly taken on, but very playful there, especially with the colour. Gorgeous colourways there. And this one by Prince George, This is Catherine, in my old chair, I would say. Wouldn't you? She looks a bit swamped by that large chair. Yes, she is indeed the person who my chair went to. Yes, it went to our future Queen, of course it did, and there it is in all its glory. Well, this shows how astute Prince George is. Of course, we've been furnished with drawings he's done before, paintings, that one of the reindeer, which was really amazing, wasn't it, back in 2022, a long time ago. But he's been coming on. I thought this was wonderful. Not at all typical of a child, is it? A child's drawing. It is mature, it's knowing, it's astute, and it's psychologically insightful. Very interesting. And of course, this one by the Princess of Wales. Loving this portrait of her son. I think it's George. It looks to me like George. I've heard others say that it's Louis, but whoever it is, it certainly gives off the feeling of how protective she is over her children and how much she loves them, doesn't it? And let's turn to their Majesties, because they've been spreading their own doses of magic to the people of Middlesbrough, and as part of National Apprenticeship Week, the King visited Sea Wind in Middlesbrough, which trains participants for roles in the offshore wind turbine manufacturing sector. How fascinating. In this beautiful coat he was, with a high-vis vest and a hard hat. And he looked really good, I got to tell you. Crowned his ears in that hard hat. And the plant in North Yorkshire is the world's largest for the manufacture of turbines, and he toured the grounds of the factory in this scintillating tour. The expressions I notice of the King are more and more with each passing month. More reminiscent of his late mother, aren't they, don't you find, when he's smiling and interacting with the crowd, those of you who study expressions like I do. Oh, I see her popping up all the time, all the time. And it's also quite apparent watching the footage how short he is compared to a lot of men. And the youth of Middlesbrough screamed for the King's hand and for the Queen's hand. There were flags, there were smiles, and there was national pride. It was such a joy to see. Camilla was in blue and a furry hat, and they were presented with Valentine's cards. They were absolutely showered with love. Showered they were. And a birthday card was presented to a woman by the name of Rona Grafton, celebrating 100 years. And she probably had absolutely no idea who she was talking to, who they were, did she, my dear? But she was most gracious. She really was. And then there was table tennis. Can we please quit all of this interaction, please? Table tennis. Okay, fine for some of the younger royals, but I do find it a bit undignified that they're being made involved in all of these activities. Can't they just put on a pair of gloves so they're not shaking hands with all these germy hoi polloi and actually be royal and behave like a king and queen? You know, I mean, one can enjoy the interactions on one level, but for an old-fashioned fruit like me, please, can we please take back a bit of the reserve, stop pretending we're everybody's besties, stop with the hugs, and get on with the business of being king and queen. I ask you, we've really got some tidying up to do in this country, and that includes the royal family. They've got to get back to being royal. Hell be damned with everybody else who doesn't like it. Even if the monarchy falls, it should fall with grace and dignity and royalty and majesty. Majesty. Let's return. Let's return. At the town hall, the Queen presented awards to pupils, and she was greeted by another adoring audience. And the King also made a surprise trip to the club Tottenham Hotspur, meeting captains of the men's and women's teams and the players. And this gentleman in particular made a point of thanking the King profusely for his support, presumably through the King's Foundation or one of his foundations, but oh, very kind, very gracious. And I know that the King appreciated it. And actually, I've got to tell you, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle would have a breakdown, wouldn't they? They must be having an absolute apoplexy at the black people of this kingdom, who evidently enjoy and appreciate the King and Queen and don't show an absolute iota of concern for any of their besmirchments. No, they don't. They didn't swallow a drop of your bitter poison, did they? No. Untainted by the perverse trends of 2020 and 2021. Lots of our kingdomers. Wonderful to see. Wonderful to see. Consigned to history. And cream rises to the top, you see. Cream rises to the top. But as for the milk of the milk toast, that turned sour. The Prince of Wales was out and about in London. Actually, he was in Highbury, at the London Screen Academy, and as president of BAFTA as he is, he descended upon the creative hub to shine a spotlight on the next generation of UK filmmakers. Which reminds me, actually, I was reading lately about the Camden Film Quarter, which is a proposed new hub of creativity, a Hollywood style. They're likening it to a new Hollywood in London, under the borough of Camden, in Kentish Town, which is my yard. I've spoken to you about Kentish Town many times, and it's more or less where I live now. And you see, I only really moved around the corner from where I was before, if I didn't make that clear. And as I told you, it's a place that I love, and I said it's not a place that you or anybody else might love, it's the place that I love. That's why I'm so delighted to be here. It is such a wonderful part of London. And I don't really want to attract anybody else to it, because I like it just the way it is, around that kind of area. But apparently over £1 billion worth of investment might go into this vast creative space, likened to a new Hollywood, numerous sound stages, and housing as well for creative people. Consultation is underway. Kentish Town is like the cooler brother and neighbour of Camden. Camden, decades ago, was cool. Now Camden, its next door neighbour, Kentish Town, has a much better vibe, my dear. It's the place to be. That's where you'll find me a lot of the time, around there. And when I say Kentish Town, I'm talking about the surrounds. My yard, really, has always been between Camden and, I suppose, going up to Hampstead and everything in between. So you've got Camden, you've got Kentish Town, you've got Tufnell Park, you've got Archway, you've got Gospel Oak, you've got Dartmouth Park, you've got Primrose Hill, you've got Highgate, you've got Parliament Hill, you've got Highgate, you've got Hampstead, you've got... Where am I missing out in between there? I know somewhere. Archway, Holloway Road. When I refer to Kentish Town or even Camden, I'm actually referring to that whole district. Sort of from Camden, which is just beyond Regent's Park and includes Regent's Park, through up to Hampstead. This is my beloved part of town, the part of town that I know best. And I've hopped about and lived in so many places all around those parts, my dear. And I know I'm digressing, but I'm just telling you this to say, watch this space, because you're going to see a lot about my area coming up. And I don't even know that I want the attention coming to this area, but it will be rather exciting to see creativity being encouraged here. There's already so much of it already. We have a wonderful mix here in my area, you see, and this is what was missing where I was before, because there are places that are very pretty and they are very posh, but they lack edge and they lack character, and they're fine. You know, I've never been one for Chelsea. I've got siblings that absolutely adore Chelsea, for example. Chelsea is fine if you have a great network of friends and family there, as some of them do. My network, especially with friends, has always been either east or northwards, northwest, you know, all close to the city, all kind of zone 1, zone 2, but in that direction. Everyone has their preference when you're a Londoner as to which direction of the compass you prefer. But what I've found is that there are some grotty parts, many that I've lived in myself and loathed. A lot of the time it's been around here, around the Kentish Town area, which is absolutely my favourite. But then there have been other times where it has been salubrious and attractive and nice, and you can go out and get a nice meal and have a jolly time, and the streets look pretty, but oh, it can be boring, especially now, because a lot of the fun and the charm has been taken and sucked out of London and all of our European cities. Do you understand my idea? So places that might have had a bohemian bent years ago, the Hampsteads, the Primrose Hills, a lot of artistry, a lot of creativity, in with the poshness. That's what made it fabulous and sexy and full of soul. A lot of that has been sucked out, because a lot of people can't afford to live here. A lot of the homes are taken up by foreigners who don't even live in the extra homes. Some don't integrate and communicate either. But a lot of creativity has been discouraged from being here, and a lot of enterprise. And then we've had the last few years of misery for everyone as well, which has magnified all of that. Do you understand? So I like there to be a pocket where there are so many different types of people rubbing along with each other. In my area, you can have a really beautiful, gorgeous street, not with the sort of grand houses of a Belgravia or a Kensington, you know, the sort of into the 20 million, 30 million houses, whatever it is, but you can have a row of beautiful, you know, sort of £3-4 million houses and streets, gorgeous, surrounded by parks and flora and fauna, Hampstead Heath, Regent's Park, glorious, and that can rub along with some social housing and different sorts of environments. And one used to perhaps complain when one was coming through that they were rather a little bit scruffy and spoiled the ambience. Well, I've learned better over the last few years. It's wonderful to have that bit of scruff. It's wonderful to have that edge and that friction, and that's what I love being among. All types of people rubbing along together. Anyway, back to Prince William. His Royal Highness observed costume design and the undertaking of vocational skills, meeting with hair and makeup teams and having a go behind the camera lens. As for the Princess Royal, well, our Annie was marking 40 years of the Princess Royal serving as President of the National Riding for the Disabled Association, and as part of her ongoing support, Her Royal Highness visited the Helen Atkin Group in Buxton, where she met volunteers and riders, and the Princess enjoyed a riding display to music from The Greatest Showman, presented rosettes to riders, and awarded dedicated volunteers with long service certificates. And even the beloved horses and ponies, Cracker, Big Daisy and Floyd, were recognised with rosettes. And my Canadian fruits, this one is for you. Of course, you are associated so closely with our kingdom because we share a head of state. Yes, we do. Part of our glorious Anglosphere, part of our family, cousins, brothers, sisters. Today, my wife and I join with Canadians across Canada and around the world to commemorate an important milestone, the 60th anniversary of the Canadian flag. On February the 15th, 1965, and I didn't know this, so this was quite interesting, the red and white maple leaf was first flown on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Isn't that interesting? You've got a Parliament Hill as well. Parliament Hill in Ottawa. I didn't know this. I didn't realise that the maple leaf, the flag, was so recent in history. What's that, 60 years? Since that time, it has become internationally recognised as a symbol of a proud, resilient and compassionate country. For my own part, it is a symbol that never fails to elicit a sense of pride and admiration as I recall with the deepest affection my many Canadian visits and friendships and fruits. Charles R. Okay, that's the royal romper over. I'm now going to have a chin wag about furnishings and show some keepsakes on a kaleidoscope, so you can run along if you've had your fill, but you can hang with me at the fire if you wish to. Hear me elucidate some more about absolutely nothing. Furnishings. It's going to be all change in here. As I mentioned, my Camfield Place Barbara Cartland fantasy remains in my mind, and certainly for other rooms, other places will never be extinguished. But in this particular room, the fantasy has failed. It's over, and that's a lot to do with the gold furniture that I took in, and also the fact that the room looks too gloomy with a lot of the colourways that I was originally planning. There will always be that influence, but everything's going to be changing. You're going to be finding soft pastels. You're going to be finding the influence of the pale unicorn colours, I should think, some lavenders, some mints, pinks. What I have learned, this will all change, you know me, my dears, but what I have learned about this room is that any darkness, whether it's that fire over there, the fake fire, or that painting there, or some of those books, they suck light out of this room like a Dementor. They will suck it out like a Markle. They will suck it out of the room, my dear. We're going to be bringing more lightness and more softness into this room. The walls, last time you saw the wall behind me, it was a different pink that I was trying. That's still gone. There will still be pink in this room, but it'll be more coming through from joyous accessories that I find, maybe cushions, this kind of thing. At the moment, the wall has got Annie Sloane's chalk paint in a blue, actually. It reads kind of a light mauve in reality in the light in this room, but it's actually her her Louis blue chalk paint that I mixed half and half with her pearlescent glaze to give it a unicorny shimmer, only because I'm playing. I'm not taking it seriously at the moment, and when I eventually find the colours that I want, which will probably be in a year's time, then I will have it professionally renovated as such. But I'm playing, I'm taking the time to play. And another colour that was recommended to me that I tried was Annie Sloane's, and the only reason I got it in chalk paint, by the way, was because she doesn't do the Louis blue in a regular wall paint. But I did try her duck egg blue, which is certainly not blue, is it, my dears? I don't care what the experts tell me, it's green, and a rather mucky green. It doesn't go in here. And I tried her Antoinette in pink. None of them rang my bell. But what I'm going to be doing, actually, I've just taken receipt of this as a neutral. It's the Laura Ashley in Sea Spray White, which I painted another wall. I've sampled it, and I just had this full paint pot ordered so that I can do most of the room in a wash of this Sea Spray White, which has elements of blue, just so I can see what the room is like when it is lighter. And then I can, because I've never liked the idea of a feature wall, I'm afraid. No offence if you've got feature walls. My mother's got a couple, and they can look nice. But for me, I find it a bit common and vulgar, my dear, to have a feature wall, as I've got at the moment here. But I am considering keeping this wall for a little bit more pop. So maybe the two recesses that I have there will remain a slightly different colour, to give a bit of a pop, but I've got to get some more furniture in first to see how that goes. But I'm always evaluating as we go along. Everything's just a mess at the moment. But all those dark books you see there coming off the shelves are actually coming off as well. I don't want bookshelves in here. It's not the library. There will be books in view, but I don't want, there's shelves and shelves going up both sides of the wall there at the moment, and I don't want them there. I want some art. I want to bring some contemporary art into the room so that everything doesn't feel too fusty. What I don't want people to think is that this is some sort of homage to the Victorian era or the Gilded Age. No, my dear, I want there to be those influences, but I want there to also be some contemporary touches, eclectic, as they might call it. But yeah, once some more furniture comes in, I've got a fun console coming in to experiment with. I will see what it goes with, but this blue behind me that reads mauve, it does look wonderful with the gold chairs. So those of you who expressed a favour for purplish based paints, whether it be that pale mauve or the lilacs, Joanna, you mentioned an oystery shade that isn't available in the kingdom at the moment, but that was rather interesting. A bit too dark, I think, for me, but a lovely oyster with undertones and elements of mauves and purples. They are certainly what make the gold furniture that I have sing and eradicate any of the nastiness. So I am keeping my eye out for that undercurrent of pale mauves. Because the blue silk damask chair that I was expecting is no longer happening, and actually it's a relief, even though it was beautiful, but it was going to muck up the harmony of this room, so that's not happening anymore, I'm afraid, my dears. But yeah, I've got a fun console coming. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but a really delicious colour. That's going to be fun to share with you. And as many of you said, an overmantel mirror would look good on the fireplace. Well, it would, but then it would ruin the broadcast, because then you'd just get the reflection back to you. So, you know, I have to make a slight adjustment. I'm not making this into a set, as I've told you, but I have earmarked this room as a salon for broadcasting. And I'll probably, you know, fill it with a few favourites and then keep it rotating to keep things interesting, my dear. But yeah, I mean, eventually and finally there will be an overmantel mirror there, but not now. Now, as for the fire, which I told you I was going to wait until I could afford to get a stoneware electric fire in black. Well, I haven't. That is certainly not a luxurious one. It was a very cheap one from Amazon. I think it was about £60, an electric fire. I just wanted to see if black worked there. And although it does, it's not what I want, and it sucks some of the lightness out of the room, obviously. So if I do get a fire in there, then I will get a white one, but the choices are very limited. The sizes aren't what I need, and they don't come with all the accoutrements that I want, but eventually I'll find one that works, and I will place it, I think, behind a fire screen. And out of the hundreds of fire screens that I've looked at all over the internet, I've only found one that I liked, and that was about about £1,700. So it's a little bit over my budget by about £1,600. You understand, but that was the only one I liked. I'm going to keep my eye out over the months for that. And then I won't mind having a fake fire if it's hidden behind a nice screen and you just get a bit of the glimmering flames coming through, but I still find it difficult with the fakery. I know that the flames can look very realistic now. Some of you have recommended models to me very kindly. Some of them come accompanied with crackling noises. And I must admit, it's very weird having the flames going out the corner of your eye, as I did yesterday when I took receipt of it, and not hearing any crackling. I didn't like it. I didn't really like that. But nor would I especially like a recording of crackling either. You know, it's pushing that line. It's blurring that line. What I might look into is actually getting a real fire reinstated, but I would need to have everything surveyed and the flue inspected and of course repaired and restored. I'm not sure how many dead birds are up that chimney behind the board, and of course if I was to get a fake electric fire in there, I would of course get a false flue as well, a flue pipe, to make it somewhat believable. You know, you've got to do that. But I have absolutely no idea if it's viable in this building and with insurance and all the rest of it, my dear, to get the chimney working again. I don't know how it's capped. I don't... There's things I've got to find out, but also a huge cost I expect as well. So something for the back burner, something to look into, but that would be wonderful to have a real fire. And I'd probably choose a log burner because I'm a bit too scared of open fires and the grates, as glorious as they are. I was also looking at bioethanol, is that it? Bioethanol fires, because they can provide a real flame, but they suck up a lot of the fuel that's needed for it, so they can be rather expensive to run, but also they don't crackle either. They don't crackle with the logs. So I'd feel that something was missing there anyway. But yeah, my big revelation is that so many objects and artifacts and dark things that come into this room can very quickly make the room turn fusty and gloomy and granny in a way that doesn't happen in other rooms. So that is something that happens in this room that I have to be aware of, because I don't mind all of those things in certain contexts, but I don't want them in here. It doesn't work. And also one thing that helped was taking my rugs out. Under this chair, for example, I had that burgundy rug, which is really nice actually. I really enjoy it. And it had gone with my original fantasy, but actually it was very helpful removing it and getting it out and just having a neutral carpet at the moment so that I can envision other colours coming in. Now let's move to our Keepsake Kaleidoscope, and we shall begin with Cora Jean. Cora Jean has been poorly, actually, incidentally. Speedy recovery to you, my dear. I received a comment from your husband, that's how I know that. You requested a keepsake, but your husband commented in the comment section telling me about your log-built home from the 1850s in a Victorian style. Sounds lovely. And you said that my keepsake for you set your heart alight with the nostalgia of days gone by. In this photograph, lovely walls, another basketeer with lovely walls you've got, haven't you? Gracie in Hawaii, or Hawaii, however we're supposed to say it, was 2 days past her due date last week when she got in touch with me with this. So I should imagine that she has given birth to her first little fruit. How exciting. Thank you for sharing that lovely photograph in the stunning scenery of Hawaii and all of this candlelit imagery. Wonderful. Then there was Steph, and I showed you Steph's last week, but she also asked for one for her mum, Elizabeth, who was born in the coronation year and was named after the late Queen Elizabeth. And she shared hers in this fruit basket of goodness with treasures and fruit and chocolate. How lovely. And congratulations, dear Elizabeth, for your golden anniversary with hubby over this past weekend. I hope you had a wonderful celebration. The keepsake card River chose happened to have a hymn written on it that was sung at their wedding, Steph tells me, 50 years ago. So my mum wanted me to share how perfect that was. That was a very nice happy accident, wasn't it, my dear? Well, Spirit told me, you see. Spirit told me what to choose. And this one from Lynn, wonderful photograph here with her house plants. Do you talk to them like the king, my dear? Do you talk to your plants? I'm sure you do, and I'm sure they enjoy it. They're probably better conversation than most people you meet, that's for sure. And I remember this souvenir that you've got, my dear, that I gave to you. I think you were quite lucky to get that one. I really liked it, actually, because there's a hand-drawn little small drawing that somebody had done all those years ago, centuries ago, on a Christmas card. I thought it was very delicate and perfect for spring, isn't it? Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me on this spring day, which doesn't require a fire and flames at all, but you've got some. Actually, it isn't. It has been sunny here, but it's still been cold, so just having the flames, it's true what they say and what you told me in the comment section, just having flames close to you without the heat, because I don't use the heater that's attached to it at all, but just having the flames does make you feel physically warmer. It's amazing the power of suggestion on the mind, isn't it, that I've always been aware of. But it does. There were times last night when I was testing it out that I turned around and thought, oh, I better turn that off. I'm warming up too much. It felt a bit, it wasn't on. And then when you touch it and pick it up after you switch it off, you expect it to be hot, and it's not. It's stone cold. Plays with the mind. Anyway, thanks for joining me for Cozy Time, and I'll see you next time, my dears. Have a splendid evening and come back soon. Doodle pip.